All right, NFL fans, welcome back to another episode of The Way We See It. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Wesley Coleman as we still sift through the rubble of the 2025 NFL Draft. Wesley, what's going on?
Hey man, yeah, we got some teams getting together, and I guess we're all predicting our team to all of our rookies to be all pros, and we're gonna all make the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a great segue to our first topic, and that is trying to predict who the offensive and defensive rookie of the years will be. It's tough to say, but it does depend on the situation. Are they going into a situation where they're going to have a lot of opportunity to play, or are they going to be behind veterans? So here are the betting odds right now. Let's start with offensive rookie of the year. Ashton Genty is the odds-on favorite at plus 200. He's with the Las Vegas Raiders. Cam Ward plus 230, the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. Travis Hunter plus 750 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tyler Shuck, your boy, the New Orleans Saints at plus 1200. Tet McMillan with the Panthers at plus 1400. And we'll round this out with our Marion Hampton at plus 1600. If you want to get into plus 3000, that's Tyler Warren with the Colts and a bunch of others. What do you think? First, do you have any odds that you really like? I've got one that I'm like, I would put money on that.
Oh, I would definitely put money on the Marion Hampton.
Really?
Jim Harbaugh likes to run the ball. I mean,
Hell
like
yeah.
even
Najee
even
Harris is out there. Najee's phenomenal.
you think he's gonna be stealing goal line touches from Hampton?
Yes. No.
um, yeah, I think that with again, we're talking about the odds, and you're talking 1,600 to 1, right? I'm not saying he's my overall favorite, but those odds I like. He's probably my tied for second favorite as far as who I actually think could win Rookie of the Year. So him being the fifth betting favorite, I really like the way the odds play out. Even with a quarterback like Justin Herbert, Harbaugh likes to run the ball. He's
Yeah.
proven it. He's going to run the ball.
Greg
And I think
Roman.
Marion Hampton is a really special talent.
Well, let me ask you this. So Ashton Genty, the odds on favorite at plus 200 to win the award. I still think the Raiders are going to be bad. They'll be better, but I think they're going to be bad. Does that favor an Ashton Genty, or does that hurt his chances based on I guess you could call it oh my gosh, the tight end for the Raiders last year. That
Brock
should have
Bowers.
gotten. Yeah, is it like the Brock Bowers effect? He's the only player they have. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a repeat of it. I mean, listen, if he runs for 1,700 yards as a rookie, then okay. And even if they go 3-14, does he win it? Does he have the best rookie
Right.
season by a running back ever? Brock Bowers just had the best season ever by a rookie tight end, ever,
Yeah.
and he didn't even compete with Jaden Daniels for it. So I guess it would depend on who the other close candidate. I get Ashton Genty. I think he's going to be the best rookie out of this class. I just don't know if you win 4 or 5 games, what did you actually do? It's tough. I think that bleeds into MVP conversation about how many games you need to win to be the MVP. Do you
Right.
need to win games to be the offensive rookie of the year?
So let's all that if I were to place a bet, like just throwing $10 down, I'd probably go Travis Hunter in Jacksonville at plus 750 because I do think that Trevor Lawrence is a capable quarterback. Do I think he's a franchise guy? Well, they view him as such, but I think he's capable. And I think Travis Hunter is really, really good. And when everyone was talking about Shador Sanders, I think Travis Hunter made him look really, really good on occasion when they were in Colorado together. But here's my question. If Travis Hunter is, this is the offensive odds. Do you think they'll actually, if they play him on defense, how does that weigh into this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's so one, does if he gets 3 interceptions, does that help his
Right.
candidacy for offensive rookie of the year? Because he's an offensive player who also got 3 interceptions. Like what can you not go, oh no, we can't do the punt returns, we can't do the kickoff returns, we can't do interceptions. It's just his offensive numbers. It gets into a pretty, it's a weird conversation. And what would you do? What if he was the the 4th best receiving rookie wide receiver, and he was the 4th best cornerback that was drafted this year as far as interceptions and defense? Like, but he doesn't really qualify for an offensive or defensive rookie of the year, but he's the rookie of the year, just not for offense or defense.
Well, you know what's funny is that when you go to the defensive rookie of the year, he's the second odds-on favorite to win that award at plus 750. Yep. He's got the same odds to win the offensive and the defensive player of the year award. Like, that's insane to me. Was it Dion the last time we've had these discussions about a guy potentially being an impact player on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the impact of the Dion on offense is probably remembered differently than what it was accurately. I mean, he played a handful of snaps, and he did catch a few balls, but he also was out there as a huge distraction, so somebody else could catch a ball, and so you could use him, correct? And maybe there was always the case of people arguing he should have been used more on offense, but like, then would it have gotten watered down and have never been worth anything? I don't know. Like, it was always an interesting discussion. I think that Hunter is lined up to have more impact than on each side of the ball than Dion did. He's not going to be as good a defensive player. Not even close. I'm not saying that, but I think he can have more impact on the offensive side of the ball, even if he was a full-time defensive player. I do want to say, on this list, I think that most of the people you're looking at, if I'm thinking they need to win some games in order to be considered, that's one thing I really like about Marion Hampton. I would say the caveat there is someone like Tyler Shuck, who, if he's the starter, if he plays 17 games and, has them even competing, in the 8-9 range, 8-9 win range, I think that looks really good for him, drafted at number 40, when I don't think Cam Ward's going to win 8 games as a rookie quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. And I'm not predicting that from Tyler Shuck at all. I just say he's just in a position to where even if the team like picks up around him, he'd be an interesting betting, is at least the odds of taking a shot on him being a quarterback that could get some votes.
Yeah, I was joking around a little bit when I talked about Najee Harris earlier, but he is probably going to eat into Marion Hampton's carries early in the season. They're going to ease him into it, and then probably by the season's end, Najee Harris signed a 1-year deal, and it was riddled with incentives upwards of $9 million. He's not going to make $9 million. So when you look at it, I wonder if it's kind of recency bias with most of these awards. How do you finish the year? In which case, he might be your best bet in terms of odds at plus 1,600. You could win some money. Let's go to the defensive side, though. Let's go to Abdul Carter of the New York Giants. He's plus 250. I talked about Travis Hunter again being plus 750 on the defensive side. Michael Williams is San Francisco 49ers plus 900. He's an edge rusher. Jalen Walker of the Atlanta Falcons is plus 900. He's a linebacker. Jahad Campbell, Philadelphia Eagles, is plus 1,200. James, I think it's Pierce Jr., Atlanta Falcons plus 1,600. And it gets significantly worse as you go. So what do you think about defensive rookie of the year? This is a tough one to pick, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that Michael Williams of the 49ers is set up pretty good to be to get some votes. He's going to be surrounded by some veteran defensive players, good defensive coaches, and I really liked him coming out of Georgia. So I think he's one that's set up really good. The big question mark here, and again, if we're factoring in ability to win games, Shamar Stewart of the Bengals, listen, did not have production in college. He's huge workout guy, great athleticism. If for some reason he gets coached up, and like if it was just needing to get coached better, he's going to be next to Trey Hendrickson if he doesn't get traded. He's going to be next to a few decent defensive line players. If focus can be on them, he could use athleticism to actually make some plays and have more production as a rookie than he ever did in his entire college career together.
I will say when I look at these numbers and I look at these players, I'm looking at players that are going to have an opportunity to splash. So when you talk about like an inside linebacker, outside of tackles, they typically don't have a ton of splash. They're just, that's not the nature of their position. I got to be honest, if I were to actually place bets on this, I'd probably take Abdul Carter at plus 250. It's not good odds. You're not going to win a bunch of money. But at the same time, he's going to be there with Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence. Like, that's a pretty good situation. And when you talk about an edge rusher If you can garner sacks, that's going to get a lot of attention in the National Football League in terms of voting. And we bring up Travis Hunter again, because if Travis Hunter could somehow, some way have 5 or 6 interceptions somehow, like that sounds absurd to me right now, by the way. 5 or 6 interceptions. Do you tack that onto what he does as a receiver and say, this dude's, but it's not the Heisman. That's the thing. It's not the Heisman voting.
Yeah. And I do think we've talked about before. I do think that Travis Hunter is going to be a full-time wide receiver and a little bit of cornerback. I would say 2 people, and you kind of started alluding to this, 2 people that are far down the list that we haven't even talked about, but I think are going to be on maybe the 2 best defenses in football. Jahad Campbell for the Eagles, and one that I really like that may surprise is Jahdae Barron, the cornerback out of Texas on the Broncos. I think the Broncos are going to be the best defense in football, and I think he's going to be in a really good situation, possibly as a nickel, but maybe on a boundary. But either way, he's going to be in a position to make plays because they're going to get pressure on the quarterback, and I think people are going to go at him because he's the new guy. And I think Barron's probably not in your betting top 10, which would make great odds. I just wouldn't be surprised to see, a rookie gets 4 interceptions and he's might be the defensive rookie of the year. That's pretty low hanging fruit for a cornerback.
But
just like you said, sacks and interceptions.
But Jahdae Barron for the Broncos, he's plus 2,000 odds. That's a good financial bet if you're going to potentially, and he's had Pat Surtain's there. He's got a good defensive backfield around him. I like that. I like that a lot. So it's crazy. You always have injuries. You always have things that change. We'll see how these players get acclimated. These are way too early. A way too early look at the potential offensive and defensive rookie of the years. Gosh, why can I not say that today? Anyways, let's talk about these draft classes. I hate grading draft classes. I honestly do. I hate how people the day after the draft are throwing out grades like this, that, and the other. How long do you think you should wait to grade a draft class?
I mean, it's 3 years. And unless it's a bad draft class, and you can find that out in about 18 months when the person when none of them make your team on the second year. We've talked about it before here, but 30% of draftees make NFL rosters.
Right.
Like you can find out pretty quick if you had a bad draft class normally. No, I mean, it's really 3 years. So you've got some future Hall of Famers who had very little to zero production in their first year. And some of them it's because they didn't play. Some of them it's because they just weren't good at football yet. But the coaching for the college game and the systems that are ran in the college game, most of them do not prepare people for the NFL. It's the physicality, the working out, all that. But as far as understanding football and where to be, a lot of college is not preparing them for that. So they come in truly needing to relearn NFL football. So I think it takes a while. You got to have good coaches, but I'm going with 3 years. When you start figuring out, are we thinking about picking up the 5th-year option on these guys? I think that matters a lot. What about you? Where do you kind of draw the line when you have a pretty good feeling?
Well, I hated grades. I do want to add a caveat here. I'm okay with grading the process. And what I mean by that is, let's say as a Saints fan, you're watching the draft unfold, and when it's the Saints' turn to pick at number 9, you had all these players available. And you're like, I think that this player provides the best value at a position that they need, and they go in a different direction. I think for the process, in terms of the actual selection, you can say that was a D or an F. Awful, just an absolutely awful selection. In terms of grading the players individually, I mean, like you said, they have to relearn the game. A lot of the terminology might just be different. You look at a quarterback, like the installs are like 5-inch binders. Like, it's insane how much they have to learn. I'll give you an example. Let's say it's someone like Will Howard. He was a 6th-round draft pick. He's going to play a lot in the preseason, and hopefully we don't see him at all this year. Because if we see Will Howard, that means things have gone terribly wrong for the Steelers, and Mike Tomlin's non-losing streak would be on the line. But still, how am I supposed to grade that pick if the guy doesn't play a meaningful game? You can't. You got to wait and see what they develop into or what they don't develop into. You said 3 years. I think that's fair. And like you said, if it's bad, if a guy doesn't even get Hey, shoot, you've seen players that stick around in an organization for 2 years and then they get cut. That's bad. You can grade that one. That's not very good. I do think it's crazy though how some people, I'm sure that's every fan base, like the 7th round draft picks, the undrafted rookie free agent. They're like, this is the guy. He's going to come in. Like, I get what you're saying, and we can have hope, but the odds, like you said, are not in their favor. They just aren't. So I'm with you on the 3 years. What are your thoughts on the evaluating the process?
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with either way. Like I can understand where people get to drafting for need. My personal preference is drafting the best player available, purely because we're showing the numbers show there's not a very high hit rate on knowing how these players are going to look 2 or 3 years from now. So you draft the best player available, and your old linebacker may be gone by then or hurt, or you just get the best players that you can in house. And also, I mean, I think the trading up is a bad idea. You sit and you need to take as many shots at this dartboard as you possibly can, because hitting a bullseye is really, really rare.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you, did you think, would it be good or bad for downloads if the Steelers had to deal with Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, and Mason Rudolph all being injured so that Will Howard could start?
It'd probably be pretty good. If I'm being honest, it'd probably be pretty good for traction.
Good for business.
That'll play well. We'll say that. So, all right. I just think if everyone everyone that listens to this podcast understands, you got to give these players a chance to prove what they can and can't do. We can't just label them right away.
And stop looking at like the something that somebody did 3 years ago or their worst college game. It's a different game, and so it's some of the, you'll just don't look at their best highlight YouTube package and think that that's who you're getting, and don't look at their worst plays and think that that's who you're getting either. It's they're a whole new player now.
The people that put out the highlight reels on YouTube or from YouTube on Twitter, and they're like, look at this guy. He's okay. Well, did you show all the crappy plays that he had too? Like, cause it's football.
Right.
Like there's going to be good plays and bad plays. All right. You wanted to talk about ESPN. They put out an NFL power rankings that takes a look at free agency and the draft and puts all that into consideration. So I am not a fan of, well, not really ESPN.
What are you a fan of? Is not a fan of pre-draft rankings? Not a fan
of Steelers. I like the Steelers. I know that. I like golf. So you have those in front of you?
I do.
What do we have there for like the top 5?
So I was also more interested in like who they've ranked to go the biggest falls and
sure.
and rises. So obviously the Chiefs and Eagles are 1 and 2. They've been 1 and 2. They were 1 and 2 before free agency in the draft. They still are. The Buffalo Bills moved up from 4 to 3. The Detroit Lions moved down from 3 to 4. And your nemesis, the Baltimore Ravens, dropped down to they were at 5 and stayed at 5. I would say the other one, just rounded off, is Washington Commanders. I think are an interesting storyline. They were 6th before, and they're still 6th. And I thought that's kind of interesting because they have addressed their offensive line.
See, this probably was published before the Justin Tucker news hit, so that might change that. But we won't get into that. We won't open up that can.
A very unhappy ending.
I'm not going to say anything about that. So, all right, what about, so who are the biggest ups and downs if you look through the whole 32 list of the power rankings? Who climbed the highest and who dropped the lowest?
Well, obviously you got the Bills and Lions swapped spaces. The rest of them are rather small. The Bengals fell from 7th to 10th, which is kind of interesting.
They did nothing on defense. Nothing.
But wouldn't that just still be at 7th? I mean, how do they fall 3 by doing nothing on?
Because you need to improve your defense.
I just think you're hoping that T. Higgins is healthy next year, and obviously Burrow's got another year with his wrist injury. The Broncos fell from 12th to 14th, which I think is kind of crazy because you're just Bo Nix, who is already a surprise at quarterback. He's got another year of experience, and I mean, Pat Surtain missed time last year. You're expecting him to be healthy. I think that's interesting that they had them falling a few. If you are interested, the Steelers were 17th before, and they're 17th after. No change there.
Holding steady, middle of the road, winning record. That's right. You got it.
The Dallas Cowboys went from 21st to 19th.
Really?
Again, I kind of weird considering that their quarterback basically missed most of last season. The Dolphins fell from 18th to 20th. The Cardinals fell 2 spots. And then the big riser, the Jacksonville Jaguars from 28th up to 25th.
28th, 25th.
I mean, that's a
Who's the worst? Who's 32nd on this list?
Well, 30 seconds the New York Giants. They were 32nd. They have been. The Titans are 31st. They stayed there. Your other big faller was the Jets went from 27th down to 30th. Fell 3 spots.
Justin Fields experiment.
I mean, correct. I mean, well, and also, I mean, they had Morgan Moses. They lost him. That was like their one good offensive line, their best offensive lineman. They lost him to the Patriots and drafted a rookie at 7th to replace him too. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens with them.
So, do you like power rankings?
No, I think it's.
Oh, well, you gave me crap about not liking power rankings. I was figuring you were a big fan.
After two games last season, the Saints went from like 29th to like 3rd because they went 2-0 and scored 91 points in 2 games. There's absolutely no important information that goes into these power rankings.
Oh my gosh. All right. I want to bring up 2 more things with you. One of which I might just hold for another conversation for another show. But what's your take on the NFL going to DC in 2027 for the NFL draft?
I mean, they're saying, did you see how many people they're saying there's going to be? They said it's going to be the first draft to ever have over 1 million attendees.
I could see it. It's going to be a logistical nightmare.
I think they're saying 1.2 million. I think that's I'm not going.
I live in Maryland and I'm not going.
And I've been to an NFL draft too, so it actually wasn't that bad in person. But I don't know. I think that's an interesting. Are we that far away from the Commanders being like the worst organization in sports, or the evil empire organization in sports? Are we far enough removed away from that? Has the stank been washed off?
There's a lot of good vibes surrounding that team right now. Like they're getting a new stadium. They're going where RFK Stadium was.
Yep.
I think it's going to be the visual spectacle will be amazing. You'll have the reflection pool. I don't know how many people are going to jump into it or whatever, but still, I can say this: living in Maryland, having to drive into DC before, unless people metro in, it's going to be a freaking nightmare.
It's already bad the way it is.
Yes, it is horrible. And the grid system is awful. And so they'll have a lot of work to do. And Pittsburgh next year is not going to be much easier. If you've ever been to Pittsburgh, it is not a town that's suited for that many people in that time. Like there's not enough space. There's all these rivers that run through the middle of the city. And so I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, they just had it in Green Bay, which is known for the stadium being in a neighborhood. But I think once you get out of your car and up to the stadium, it's an incredible experience there at Lambeau.
Where did you go to the draft?
At AT&T Stadium in Dallas or Arlington.
What year was
Texas.
that? Do you remember?
Like 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay, I didn't know if you remembered.
Yeah, it's been a while. One of those years when the Saints didn't have a first round draft pick.
Nice. What was the vibe like being there in person?
I mean, it was pretty tame. I mean, it's there's a lot of people. The stuff going on outside is all interesting and cool. They do a really good job of keeping the crowd kind of with cool things going on. Being in the stadium while they're doing it, they kept the crowd like people you see on video pretty highly selected as far as. I don't know if any of those people are actually fans of the teams that they're there, or if they're all paid actors.
Really?
I don't know. It's weird.
So, did you rock like a Saints jersey when you were there? Like, were you rocking number 9, or did you just wear regular street clothes?
Pretty sure I wore a Saints t-shirt.
Got it.
It felt good.
I don't know if the Cowboys and Saints. I don't know if they jive. I don't know if.
I mean, there's a history of pretty much. The Saints were bad for so many years, so the whole west side of Louisiana, like if you lived west of, Alexandria or Baton Rouge, you couldn't even get the Saints on your TV. If the Saints and Cowboys were playing at the same time, you watched the Cowboys game was what was shown on your local TV, not a Saints game. So some of those people were kind of forced to be Cowboys fans. And they in the Drew Brees years came back to the wanting to be, hey, I'm from Louisiana. I'm a Saints fan. But it was, a lot of that, all Shreveport and all that stuff was just called East Texas, as far as the NFL was considered.
Well, man, that sucks. And I guess I'll ask you, I'm going to save the other topic for another show.
Oh, that's a teaser.
The human element in sports, how I think it's necessary. But what's your take on the postseason for any sport right now?
Man, I just had like one of the most incredible, fun sports viewing experiences watching the Dallas Stars knock out the Colorado Avalanche in Game 7, down 2-0 with 12 and a half minutes left, and scored 4 goals to. There's nothing, and I'm not saying that hockey is my favorite or second favorite sport. There is nothing like playoff hockey, and there's definitely nothing like Game 7 playoff hockey. And then when you get into overtimes, and I don't care who's playing, if I hate the teams or I've never heard of anybody, I will watch overtime of an NHL playoff game, and specifically if it's a Game 7. Like, there's just, and the handshake line after the end of a series is just one of the greatest traditions in all of sports, because I don't think there's a more physical sport where the team sports where they just beat the crap out of each other. And then just really cool experience. Last year the Stars knocked the Avalanche out, and the series ending goal was scored by Matt Duchene, who used to play with the Avalanche. This year, a hat trick in the third period of Game 7 by Mikko Rantanen, who was on the Colorado Avalanche for the last decade and got traded from them this year. So the Stars 2 years in a row have knocked out the Avalanche with their own players. It's incredible.
My kids have asked me before, like, the Steelers have been one and done in the playoffs for a while now. And they're like, what's more nerve wracking, like the Steelers playoffs? And I said, or they were going to say the Penguins in the postseason. I said, nothing is more nerve wracking than playoff hockey. And if you get into overtime playoff hockey, it's a whole other level, because there's no other sport where literally a pass intended for a teammate gets deflected off of a defender's stick and goes between the wickets of the goalie. And you're like, it's over. A fluke, just like that.
You can have a shot on your end where your goalie's out of position, he dives and something bounces off of him, and where you're like, oh my God, we just lost. And then the person gets the rebound and skates the entire length of the ice in 7.5 seconds and scores a goal. Like, there's not a quicker up and down in all of sports. It's so much fun, and it's just so much drama. What about you? So NFL draft is over. The college beach volleyball season is over. What are you going to be watching?
Golf. I'm going to be watching golf. I've gotten more into golf this year than I ever have. Really watched, freaking hell, that's down in Texas, man.
Down here,
Scotty Scheffler, 31 under. Can you imagine finishing a round for a tournament, being 23 under and coming in second place by 8 strokes? Think about that. You played 23 under par for an entire tournament, and you finished in second place, 8 strokes behind the winner. That is insane. Absolutely insane. I'm going to be watching golf. The second major of the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow is coming up. Signature event this weekend. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, man.
The Pirates suck.
They're not. Has Paul Skeens demanded a trade yet?
No, but he hasn't looked right either. I wouldn't be shocked if we see him shut down at some point. Like, I don't think there's an issue with the arm, but his stuff's not as electric. He's not throwing the ball as hard as he was last year. They say he's trying to work on all these new pitches. Kind of reminds me of Major League 2 when Ricky Vaughn's trying all these new weirdly named pitches and stuff, but that's neither here nor there. So are you doing work for the Dome Patrol this week or no?
Yeah, there'll be a recording this week. We did a draft reaction last week that was great, and then there'll be some additional Saints talk this week, depending on what kind of Derek Carr news comes out.
And where can we find you on social media?
I'm on X at WhoDatWesley13. You can follow me at the Dome Patrol podcast at Dome Patrol PCast. What about you, Jeff? Where can we find your golf and Steelers coverage?
It's at J Hartman, HARTMAN_PIT. If you're looking for Wesley, just go into the comment sections of all my posts and you'll probably see him there. Or you can check it out at Steel Curtain Network, steelcurtainnetwork.com. That's it, man. Thanks for another good show. We'll talk next week. Take it easy.
See you next week when we talk about humanity.
Yes.